Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Crypto and the Caribbean, the show where we cover all things crypto and Caribbean related. I'm your host, L, and for today's episode, we're actually going to be following up on a previous episode that we had regarding the Haitian dollar. Now, if you remember, we took a deep dive into the white paper, looking at what it was about, the people behind it, and what the project was looking to try to do for Haiti and possibly the rest of the world. After that deep dive, I reached out to the founder and he agreed to sit down with me for an interview to expound more on some of the topics, some of the questions that I had. And it was an interesting interview. I won't spoil it, I can just let you see for yourself. And this goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. As a disclaimer, nothing stated in this interview should be taken as financial advice, and you should not make any actions based solely off of this interview without doing your own due diligence and research. I am not, nor have I ever been, a financial advisor, and I don't pretend to be. I am an educator and entertainer online. I'm just doing some journalistic work and interviewing a person about some questions that I had with their project. All opinions and thoughts shared here are those directly of Mr. Luma himself or me myself. Okay? So, let's get into it. All right, it looks like we're good to go. So, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Crypto and the Caribbean, the show where we cover all things crypto and Caribbean related. I'm your host, L, as you know, and today's episode is a bit different. Today, I'm sitting down with the founder of the Haitian Dollar project. You know, we spoke about it before, and I said I wanted to reach out to him himself. We have here Mr. Honson Luma. Are you correctly pronouncing the name?
Yeah, Honson Luma.
Mm-hmm. All right. And we'll be following up on the Haitian Dollar today. So, Mr. Luma, founder and CEO, Space Age Investment Group, and the founder behind the Haitian Dollar project. How are you today?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
No problem. Thank you for making the time to sit down and talk about it. I love talking about these things, covering projects focusing on the Caribbean space, because as we both know, this is a space that's due for not just growth, but rapid growth in the next few years. We have some of the highest potential in terms of immediate growth in this market right now. So tell us a bit about yourself before we get into the project. You know, who is Honson Luma?
Well, Honson Luma is originally from Miami, Florida. Both of my parents are Haitians. My mom is from Port-au-Prince. My dad is from a countryside in Haiti called Lurigan. They both moved here at a mid age, somewhere around late 20s, early 30s. You know, I'm born in Miami, Little Haiti, Sable Palm, Biscayne Boulevard, those areas, Morningside, if anybody's familiar in that Miami area. I went to Morningside Elementary, went to Horseman, went to Miami Senior High School. You know, I lived in Third Court. So, you know, 6th Ave, you know, a lot of, you know, I'm just letting people know who familiar with the area of Miami, because most of the, you know, the origins of my belief system of the creation of Haitian Dollar originated from, you know, growing up in Miami and having issues of, you know, being Haitian and grew up in that time in the early 90s, you know, growing in elementary, middle school when, you know, we had issues of being from the Caribbean. You know, if you was Haitian descent, they call you boat people. They say you had, you know, diseases, you know, so forth and so on. So a lot of the contributions in the movement behind Haitian Dollar is not only cultural, but it's sentimental. It's a lot that comes with that. It's just not a crypto. It's a social activist. It's a social conscious, social service coin. So it's all about that. It's about the diaspora who suffered tremendously in the hands of colonialism, and also for my people who are in Haiti, who constantly going through the issues right now. So it's about freedom as well. So Honson Luma itself is really someone who's trying to do good and trying to find a way to help his own people. I moved to Baltimore. I have college education. For me, college education does not really determine who I am. But if the discussion about who I am, I do have a bachelor's degree in political science, public administration from Florida Memorial University. I have a master's degree in public administration. I also pursued community college leadership at Morgan State University. I'm just an AD, what they call the term AD. I forgot the AD, but I'm just a dissertation away from my doctorate. So in community college leadership. So with that experience, it helped me be able to formulate my ideas on paper. So I am, I'm 42. So I've been in the space since 2017. I actually collaborate with another company, which was a stock company, a penny stock company called Sunshine Capital, did funding. I was contacted by them through a chat, investment tweet chat, when I was also trading futures and trading stocks. Came across a company that was a shell company, which is a penny on over-the-counter company that was traded on the OTC. So, they wanted to figure out what I was doing, so I helped create a coin called Dipcoin. So at that time in 2017, that's when the era would tokenization was a big ordeal. So this is where Haitian Dollar comes to play when it comes to formulating the cryptocurrency in a regulatory format. Because of my experience back in 2007 dealing with a stock company and understanding that, dealing with the SEC, dealing with them and how they look at crypto. Doesn't matter if you're a utility or you're not a utility, they put you all in a category. So it's kind of proven guilty until you're innocent. It's kind of, so to speak. So you all are security, whether you have a platform where your token is used as a form to use the DAP. In the eyes of the SEC, they categorize everything as a security because they want to have sort of the watchdog over everything. So with that experience, I realized the only way forward to be successful is it's not, even though we have a rebel sort of connotation behind the Haitian dollar, but in the reality, we live in the real world. We do have to follow regulation, or else there's consequences. And those consequences, we all know, is either you pay a hefty fine or you find yourself behind bars. And that's the way it goes. So to stay away from that and to follow the rules of the United States of America, we decided to, go that route, which we filed Regulation D with the Securities Exchange Commission as an exemption. Because we filed an exemption and because of how the economic downturn, and it wasn't feasible or wise at this time to go onto a crowdfunding platform with no historical background, with no revenue, with no real history, a brand new company. So we decided to launch it on an offshore exchange, which is not regulated, which is also stated on the offering memorandum that this exchange is not regulated by no regulatory body, although it has a business organization and is recognized as a big business organization in their jurisdiction, but it's not regulatory body over any securities exchange. So that is, I'm sorry that I went over. I just, I could ramble all day, but
no, I got you. So to reel it in a bit, so we get people up to speed and they have a better understanding. Let's talk about the transition into the crypto space that you made. So you have a quote I have here, 2016, where you said you feel that crypto has the same growth potential that many of the .com companies experience. What drew you into the crypto space to begin with? What coming from that finance background that you did have, working with the stock company and such, what did you see that initially sparked that interest and drew you towards crypto or the space in general?
Well, because working with that stock company, we talked about the history of working with penny stocks company. And back in the 70s, early stages when companies were trying to get their name in the Wall Street or the, you know, in the .com space, you know, it was a rush. It was like a gold rush to get a shell company or whatever on the penny stock company to get it traded. So with that being stated, based on that conversation with that core team, I quickly had a realization that we're kind of sort of in the same realm, but in a digital space where it is a gold rush, is a wild, wild west, and everybody's trying to rush to be the first product. But you have to understand that, you know, based on past history, the government have an opportunity, tend to hands-off approach, allow things to kind of, just like the forex exchange. I also traded forex exchange. At one point, it was a wild, wild west, and then quickly it became regulated. So I knew that Bitcoin, that was the first crypto I actually was introduced to. I knew Bitcoin was a replacement of the financial, and when I say Bitcoin, the blockchain, but at that time I looked at Bitcoin as a replacement of finance when it comes to dealing with fiat. Yeah. And I knew that it was the new gold rush, that people, either you was going to be the one that was going to sell the pitch, or you was going to be the one to do the digging, or you was going to supply someone to, the horse or the plane or whatever, to get to the point to be able to have access. This is where we at right now. So we chose the route of being on a, so to speak, regulated stock exchange, traded amongst other currencies and fiats across the globe, because just like foreign exchange, there's a market of currencies that is represented across the globe. And it's no different with crypto, that at one point in time that crypto will be listed on financial markets across the globe where people could quote prices using crypto and fiat. So fiat is not going to be replaced, but crypto will be along. And this is just our theory, that crypto will be along with fiat across the globe. It's just a mechanism of quoting prices, whether we call it a formal economy or informal economy, or the underground, or the whatever you call it, it will be an economy of its own. But if you want to play the good game, you will have to, if we run a company. So it's a Haitian Dollar Incorporated, so it's a company. So if you want to be a company, you want to, provide products and services in the United States, you have to pay taxes. You have to register your company. And if you want to, sell instruments, you have to comply with the Security Exchange Commission. And this is why we decided to go that route. But this is best time to do it.
Okay, so with that, let's fast forward a bit to 2018, when you initially came up with the idea, or the premise of the idea for the Haitian dollar itself. Tell us how you decided to devote or focus your time seeing the potential with all of these different crypto projects, all of this stuff going on. You saw Bitcoin first, and then it opened the world presumably to everything else. What made you want to sit down and do or think of the Haitian dollar?
Well, it was a lot of things that came about the creation of Haitian Dollar. At that time, I was going through a distressed time of my time through a relationship that I was going through with the company, where I've been misled. There were some things that disagreements and so forth, and intellectual property that was stolen, that was not given credit to me. So at that time, I was going through a lot of struggle. I was hacked. A lot of my finances was taken from me. So I kind of was pushed in the corner. I was at a really deep state at that time. So, when normally when human beings go through a point of time, and so just like we're doing in the economic hardship, usually we tend to fall back in a little hole and concentrate and refocus and trying to figure out what went wrong and how can you recover from that. And at that time, I went through a deep state of reflection and realized that I needed to do something, to help my people. I had to focus on that and realize, what can I do to contribute? What can I do? because it sounds like greed was always around, everything that, was about developing crypto or, the blockchain. It was always somebody trying to do somebody else in, somebody trying to get your cryptos. So at that time, I realized that I had to refocus and figure out how can I do good and trying to rebuild. And that helped rebuild my self-esteem at the same time. So I just went into writing, researched. And because of my background in research, I decided to look towards helping Haiti, because at that time, with the hurricanes, with the devastation that was going on, and I realized when I did some research with Haiti having the debt that they owe to France, how much they owed, and how devastating that the economic situation that Haiti's going through was only a reason because of the fact that we rebelled against a regime or a colonialism that trying to overtake us and put us in slavery. So when I did that research, I realized that Haitian dollar played a big role in the history. And when I dig deep and I looked at past history and research about how the US dollar was pegged and how at one point the economic conditions of Haiti was stable, and at one point when they depegged and they let the currency free float, it just sounds like it was a distribution of income that transferred to another part system. So I realized that the history of Haitian dollar was an exact kind of what crypto was all about, but an imaginary framework. And when I looked at some of the theories that was out there, they described Haitian dollar like sort of a medium of exchange, and they compared it to cryptocurrency of today. I quickly tokenized it. And I was quickly surprised that nobody really actually came up with the idea, because I it was something that was already out there. I didn't reinvent the wheel. All I did is took the information that was out there, and because my parents are from Haiti, and I have a passion for my family and for my ancestors that's in the country, I quickly connected the dots, and I went ahead and filed for intellectual property, and the rest was history.
Okay. Now tell us a bit about the team. So on the page for those who aren't aware, you can find all of this information on HaitianDollar.com or HaitianDollar.ht. I think you got that domain as well.
Well, yeah, HaitianDollar.ht is where we sell our merch. The Haitian Dollar merch that you can see, you got the merch, and then HaitianDollar.com is where you could find information about the Haitian dollar itself, the Haitian dollar, the coin, and you'll find information about the company, what we're trying to do.
Okay, perfect. Now, to the team, I see here we have Percy Square and Zoocat. What can you tell us about them? And their part in the formation of Haitian Dollar.
Okay, well, I'm the founder. I created it. I created the company. I just reached out to some of the people that I knew. Percy is one of a friend of mine who I worked in the past, who helped me with another project, and I tagged him because of his experience and his knowledgeable when it comes to intellectual property and how to write contract law and understanding how to formalize, your PPM, your private placement memorandum. Even though he doesn't have a background in crypto and everything, but he understands the formality when it deals with submitting your information to the government when it comes to intellectual rights and the Securities and Exchange Commission, because he has other parties. Zocat is also a friend of mine that I knew back in Florida long time, and he's just back and forth. He flies to Haiti sometimes. He comes back to Miami sometimes, and so we communicate. So what he does, he helps with the merchandise to help, just bring the attention to as far as what, because one thing about, folks in Haiti, they love apparel. They love, they like the fly stuff. So anything that comes from America, the United States, they love it. So it's about just building the brand and trying to get some of that merch out there so folks will walk out on the streets in the market with it just to get the awareness, because we're primarily a United States-based company. So our primary outreach is trying to get folks in Haiti. So Zocat is pretty much is the foundation of trying to get folks in Haiti to market the brand and trying to sell some of the apparels out there, because we have not talked about the Haitian currency out in Haiti because it's complex until we try to first build a brand awareness. And then once we build a brand awareness, and then we'll slowly, gradually try to teach folks how to onboard into crypto. Because right now, the way the technology is, it is not so easy and simple. We have a long way to go. So this is not something that is a quick get fixed anything. You know, it is a long process. It could take up to 15, 20 years, 25 years until we could see anything really make a huge change when it comes to the technology. Because we're talking about Lightning Network, we're talking about non-custodial of your wealth. Trying to describe that to the average person, to trying to store your private keys and sending your wealth through a Lightning Network using a URL, people could be skeptical about that. So the first thing is to prove yourself to be a real company, which is to register yourself with your state body, which we did in the city, Baltimore City, in the state of Maryland. Second step is to make sure that you get your paperwork and your legal paperwork, information. So these things is primary before we start talking about any cryptocurrency is to be legal. So this team here is just a start. There's people that I could add now. I have developers in Haiti, but we just have to put the paperwork together to start adding our team. But pretty much, I'm only the sole ideal guy who came up with it, and I'm just reaching out to other folks to try to build a strong team.
Got you. So let's talk more about the design, the structuring of the Haitian dollar. Now, I myself, I make it quite known, I'm always going to be biased toward Bitcoin because I'm closer to a maxi. I wouldn't say I'm a complete maxi, but I believe everything that we need or are going to need can be built on Bitcoin. And I see here that you chose the Omni layer for the basis of the Haitian dollar. Now, tell us about that choice, because in this past year, especially at conferences tailored to Bitcoin, like the Bitcoin conference in Miami back in, I think it was March, you see a lot of these other developers like Stacks building on top of or building next to, so side chains or layer tools for Bitcoin that could allow these other things. What made you choose the Omni layer instead of one of these, I wouldn't say more popular, but more well-known and trusted choices?
Well, Omni been around way longer than any other of these new protocols. That's layer 2. Omni created Mastercoin. Omni was Tether was built on Omni before it was on Ethereum blockchain or any other blockchain protocol that it decided to merge at this current date. So for me, Omni was the first introduction to the Bitcoin layer that I know of, that anybody else, I didn't know any other protocol that existed prior to that, so for me, and I had great communication with the team. They're very open. I could send an email 5-10 minutes. I get in the next hour or two, the emails respond. So the core team to me is trustworthy. They got great stellar team. The foundation is strong. They're very quiet, low key. I love it. Not a lot of noise. They're constantly building. You go to GitHub, they are constantly pushing. They're constantly pushing their code, constantly pushing and confirming. And so for me, that's a sound company foundation for me. And to me, I feel like they're the true, really real protocol that's out there because of Mastercoin, because of Tether, that's massively known across the globe now, was the first, that was built on that. So for me, it's an honor to be built on top of Omni, because that's where it's all started. That's the first ICO. So it's history behind that. For me, it's legacy systems. It's about history. It's about loyalty. It's about the future. It's not about, the what's popular, what's going on right now, what is the new hot thing. We don't, that's not what we do here. We talk about building for the long run. I just told you, we're here for 25, 30 years. We're not here for the next 5 years. Folks want to know when it's the quick pump tomorrow, when it's the quick pump next year. If you talk about 5, 10 years, oh, that's a scam. They don't, so this is what it's about. So this is why we build on Harmony, and this is the protocol. This is the most secure, the one that I'm most knowledgeable about. There's a bunch of other infrastructure that's being built on top of it that we're working together, like OmniVote. OmniVote is the connection with Omni Layer that helps Omni tokens that's built on Omni to be able to transact via the Lightning Network using OmniVote technology. So for me, that is the next breakthrough. Cinnamon.io that everybody, Bitcoin era log that everybody starts seeing now just popping up all over the place, talking about the next Web3 and using something, Web3 without using a token to be able to secure network and privacy to be able to people communicate, with no third party. And these guys are building their protocols with OmniVote. So believe it or not, they are popular. You might not hear Omni, but some of these fairly new protocols or Bitcoin organizations, layer 2 organization, use Omni Layer at some sort of point or some sort of capacity.
Okay. So let's talk about the path of legitimacy, or the path to legitimacy, I should say, for the Haitian dollar. So we know that currently, as it stands, the whole discussion around things like stable coins or CBDCs or anything that's meant to be in the same realm as the fiat currency in existence, it's been rocky lately. And then with the whole blow up of Luna and the situation tied to that with Terraform Labs, you've seen a lot of pushback from governmental forces as well as private organizations trying to kind of steer, I'd say, in a specific direction. So first off, what would be maintaining the Haitian dollar's status and how it's being used to replace the colloquial Haitian dollar? Because as you stated, and as it says in the white paper, the Haitian dollar itself isn't the currency, but colloquially, that's how it's used, or that's how it's spoken about in Haiti. So what would be maintaining that direct tie for the Haitian dollar to the actual currency?
So now when we're talking about the Haitian dollar and what it means for each Haitian dollar, for each Haitian dollar, the 5 goods in it, it's basically a historic fact that we use. When I did my research with the World Bank and I looked at certain protocols and stable coins and everything else, the only best theory in stable coins is being backed by one-to-one fiat or mixture of treasuries or mixture of any other certificates that you may choose. But we prefer cash in some sort, or for some protection in the case like this, treasuries. So the algorithm and all these other stable coins, to me, I'm not versed in these. I don't understand them. The only stable coin that I understand is the ones that is clear to me is you're just backed, either if you was backed by gold, or you're backed by silver, or you're backed by any euro, what is the dollar, or backed by some sort of certificate that is some sort of representation of indexes of basket of world currency, or whatever the case may be. When it comes to Haitian dollar, it's not considered a stable coin because of the fact that in past time that the historic fact that the US dollar at one point was pegged to the Haitian dollar based on the history is only tokenized. Okay, there's no real Haitian goods that's backed, as we talked about, and based on the research, it's an imaginary money. It's magic money. It's an invisible money. just like the crypto, invisible. So the question of having a crypto or Haitian dollar backed by the Haitian good, the Haitian currency, or the Haitian monetary currency, would be absurd because it's a fallen knife. Why would any crypto be backed, technically at this time, be backed by USD USD fiat? It's just not feasible. That's why they try to come up with the CBDs, the central bank digital currency. It's because I believe stable coins it's like an IOU sort of situation. I'm still learning, and it's a rapid changing environment. But the Haitian dollar itself is just basically tokenized by the historical fact that the Haitian dollar is for every Haitian dollar is 5 goods. So in this case, if we trading on an index, or we trading on any exchange, the price fluctuation does not have any relativity to what the Haitian people might do. Let's say if I'm on a mobile phone and I decide to transact with the Haitian dollar, the cryptocurrency, the fact that I'm transacting in the market, if I'm selling a banana for $1, then 5 goods, one Haitian dollar, then there's 5 good transaction. Don't matter what is traded on the exchange. The method of transaction still remains the same because it is taught that way. As right now, as we speak, if you go to Haiti right now without Haitian dollar cryptocurrency, if you are true in transaction in Haitian good, the merchant will quote the price in Haitian dollars. That is a known fact. It's documented in history. So I, nor you, or anybody could change that in the Haitian minds of the people. So again, what is the creation of money? What is the value of money? The value is only put in what you believe in it. It's a simple concept. If you believe that this item, it costs $1, then so be it. It is $1. Who determines the price? I don't determine the price. The market determines the price. So what we talked about based on history, we let the currency free to float. We're a free nation. So we allow the currency to free our people. However they want to deal with it, they deal with it. Whatever the price, whatever they determine, if the Haitian dollar worth a penny to them, that's what it's worth. If it's worth 100 to them, that is worth. But when it comes to doing transactions on the market, the philosophy that one Haitian dollar equals 5 goods remains the same. Just like one Bitcoin will always remain one Bitcoin. That's it. It's simple. Some of us make it so difficult and we put too much thought in it. But now the theory is coming back on Twitter. Everybody, since Bitcoin been falling, we're using that same now. We're going back to 2017. One Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, because guess what? If it goes down to zero, do we really care that they represent the US dollar going zero? No, because at the end of the day, my Bitcoin on my ledger still represent one Bitcoin. It doesn't represent USD. It does not. It represents Bitcoin. If that's the case, I would withdraw all my Bitcoin and transact and have all USD in the bank.
Okay. So with that kind of approach, you would need obviously some sort of support or some backing, in a sense, even though it may not have to be financial backing, but some sort of support for it to be something that's utilized by an entire country or by an entire country's people. So do you have any standing relationship with, say, a financial body like the Bank of the Republic of Haiti or any other body in the country to work this into the system? Because we've had the statement where the BRH outwardly said that they're looking to do something along those lines. They're looking to digitize the currency, and they are reaching out and looking towards tech companies to possibly assist them in the creation of that. So do you have a current standing or any kind of relationship with any of the financial bodies in Haiti right now?
No, not at all. Haitian dollars, no, it's not affiliated with the Bank of the Republic Bank of Haiti. Is not affiliated with no financial jurisdiction or body in Haiti. Like I said, Haitian Dollars is solely at this time is a U.S. company. We're operating overseas, and in the near future, like I said, in the next 10, 20 years, who knows? I mean, the thing is that nobody wants to, invest into a company that has no history. Just be realistic here. You have to be proven. Nothing is guaranteed here. It's a step into the atmosphere to see what happens. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a wizard and I got this. Like I said, it's about testing the market like any other business. We come in the market, we provide the products and services, and let the best win. It's about survival of the fittest right now. It's not about who could, get the big names with them. That's, the pump and dump. No, I mean, clearly the Haitian government stated that they're not really trying to do that right now. They're not participating in central. Anybody who says so, that's a lie. It has to come straight to them. That's understandable. Now, if 5 years from now we look like we're viable, we look like we are contributing, we're helping, we are setting out what we said in our offering memorandum, in our white paper, which is to be mindful that it's constantly updating. I haven't touched that white paper, since it was created or last time I updated. The offer memorandum is really where the meat at. It's some of the things that we have to understand when it comes to what the current Haitian dollar will be going through right now. But if we're viable in the next 5 years and we proven ourselves that worthy, then if one day the Haitian government decided they wanted to, and not saying that they have 5 years, they could develop something real quick, in the next 2-3 years. I'm not saying they were going to wait on us. I'm not nothing, because you got Haiti Pay, you got a lot of other tech, you got a lot of the infrastructure that's already out there, that could do fine in helping Haiti transition. Our job is not to really trying to incorporate Haitian dollar into the Haitian banking system. We just want to be quoted alongside. That'll be okay for us. Quoted alongside the digital good. We're not trying to be the digital good. We want to see the Haitian government create their own infrastructure when it comes to currency, because our Haitian dollar is not really feasible for a government that is open. It's feasible for an informal company, which is these individuals that normally are off the market, meaning these are informal people who shop digital with cash, strictly cash and mobile to mobile. Okay, and normally these folks don't have banks or any card or Visa card or anything. So these are folks that we're targeting. We're talking about folks, that's in the streets. Okay, not the bourgeoisie per se, because they could, the money and their foundation, they could help create a system that's more feasible for the former system. We know that's taken care of. But the lower part is not being taken care of. So that's where we come in. We're the wedge. We come in. So we're for the poor. We're for those the diasporas who was sent and deported from Miami, from New York, from across to United States, across the globe to Haiti. We're for them. We for the folks in the grounds in Haiti who want to fly to the States, who wish the dream to be on the land of milk of the honey. We're for them. We're for those folks all over who actually feel as though that the Haitian dollar might be an opportunity for them to be free. Because at the end of the day, it's not about, it's about an opportunity. Whatever opportunity presents yourself, you take the opportunity and you see what happens. So it's not secluded to just a group of people. As I spoke in my white paper, it's for everybody, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin's for everybody, all crypto, Ethereum, anybody can participate. There's no way you could block anybody from participating. And then that's the case. Then what's the point of having this decentralized cryptocurrency when it is only secluded to a group of people. It's not secluded to a group of people, but the mission remains that it's about freeing a certain group of people that have been disenfranchised. And if you, the party, feel as though you've been disenfranchised and you feel like this is a movement that you should take, then so be it. We welcome, because it is a movement. Okay? Because I've been burnt. I've been done in. And this is my way of figuring out how to be unburnt, how to relieve, how to liberate ourselves.
Okay. So with the relation, you emphasize that this is something that's for the people. This is for not just the upper class, but for everyone in general. How do you plan on building that trust with the people, being as the proposition here realistically is get their currency from the current government or get their currency from, which in all essence is a private company. So it's still somewhat centralized to a degree. So how do you get that trust from people, and why would they see you as any different from the centralized system that they already have?
Well, besides the person who's running the company, the currency is running on a ledger, on an infrastructure that is decentralized. Just minus me out of it and minus the core group out of it, versus a government who has a core group who has a big screen and have every button they could push to stop the currency from moving from your wallet to another. Okay. Now let's cross over to Haitian Dollar. I, nor the government, nor anybody could stop your Haitian Dollar coming from your non-custodial wallet to another non-custodial wallet. You have total control of it. And guess what? There's 50 billion of it, and that's it. That's it. And the whole goal is to try to get as much Haitian dollars in the hands of the people, so it could be a commune. It could be something that, it just moves and transact on its own without any third party, telling them you can't do it. Unlike the central bank digital currencies, they have the power to do that. And I'm hoping that Haiti will make the best decision when it comes to the infrastructure, that because of our core concept of our independence, that we will follow some of those core concepts and those philosophies and build those in our infrastructure. Because I'm not in a competition. I want to work alongside of the government, making sure that the people understand that not their own government could have any relation with their finances when they choose that they could do, when they decide they want to just, hit the button and stop. This is the key here. The key here, the whole core purpose of this is eliminate the middleman. So yes, we're centralized in some sort of degree, but the cryptocurrency, Haitian Dollar, is built on Bitcoin. And if we pride ourselves that Bitcoin is the granddaddy of all, then I pride myself to being sitting on top of granddaddy's shoulders and riding the wave. And not me, nor you can stop that, But if today there's a digital good coming from Haiti, from the banking system, and if they built the infrastructure sort of like some other infrastructure around the globe where they have some sort of total control of the people's wealth that's going through their wallets, then the people will have to make a decision and decide which one of the two. And I'm hoping they don't have to make this decision, that they could freely transact, just like if I want to transact with US dollars today, or I want to transact with Bitcoin today, I want to transact with USD today, whatever, it's just, it's not you have this or you can't have the other, It's just not, we got to live in a world that we all could be hanging out together in the park and enjoying the sun. It's not like, okay, I'm the only one that can enjoy the sun on the beach and everybody got to get out. No.
Okay.
We got to start getting out of our heads.
So What made you choose to go the IEO route as opposed to something like fundraising, petitioning for grants, or even something along the lines of a DAO? Some of the more recent ways people have community source and really grassroots started their project, where they start with the foundational support from the people in the community that they're targeting, and then build up from there. What made you choose to do the IEO route instead of fundraising or any of those other?
Well, again, like right now, not having a history being a new company and being something that is really a niche kind of concept, it's hard to touch a lot of, touch a huge group of people, because it's, the name itself sounds as it's a target towards a group of individuals. But in this case, the Haitian Dollar itself, when it comes to trying to build its credibility, is through grassroots. And what we're doing right now, you have to start from zero. Even if with the crowdfunding, it would still end up being a situation where you put up all this money and still end up not raising anything, because at this time right now, it's not the best time because there's no products. There's some prototypes, but there's no products yet. We can say the product is the crypto, but we have to provide services, some revenue. So so the whole ordeal now as a security token, because we're going to claim the security token, because right, in this case there's no utility. So as a security token, the first use case is security token, shares in the company, be traded on the exchange, build, show thyself worthy, and let the people decide, is it worth it? Once you could build a suitable product, folks try it works, because now you're legitimate, so to speak, because you filed an exemption with the Security Exchange Commission, and they give you opportunity to do your reporting. So we'd be glad to report some of the things that have been developed, whether it's positive, negative, once our product and services, start to come into fruition, to let not only the public know, but the Security Exchange Commission knowing what's going on as far as the company Haitian Dollar Inc. is concerned. And then, based on that piece, just like any other company, then maybe we could raise a serious round, crowdfunding, a reward-based crowdfunding, file for a regulation, crowdfund CF, and you move from there. But right now, it's too early to make that decision because, again, no revenue, fairly new, no reputation, no huge following. So it's basically grassroots level starts from now. Start somewhere, and it starts now, actually.
Okay. I'll give you a scenario here and tell me how you feel would be the best approach. So you guys launch, let's say the IEO goes well, you raise up, you get enough development to where you start to deploy, you reach out to the community, you see that people are interested. And as you launch or you start to deploy the Haitian dollar, the digital Haitian dollar, the government steps in and says that its use is now illegal. This is something that has happened multiple times before with different currencies. Mind you, they may have been crypto, some may have been quote unquote stable coins, but we're no stranger to governments stepping in and just cutting it, just ending the project, ending whatever it is. This is illegal now. If you're found doing this, you're liable to whatever is punishable by law, blah, blah, blah. What would you do, seeing as you don't have the connection with the government authorities, the financial boards, you don't have these connections, but you still want to move forward? What would you do in that instance?
Well, that would have been an honor if the government would say that, we won't want to, deal with you, because then that tells me that we are a threat, that we really are decentralized and they don't see no transparency in what we're doing, and they decide it's not going to work. But we're hoping that's not the case. We're hoping that even before we, do anything real serious, that we would ask permission first. You just don't come in nobody's house and just start, building infrastructures. No, we have etiquette, we have hospitality. We're Haitian, so we know how to deal with Haitian people. You see what I'm saying? So we go there and we first talk. Haitian people are very resilient. They're strong, opinionated people. So we know how to deal with our own kind. So we just go and just have a conversation and see if it's feasible. And if it's say, hey, no, it cannot be legal, that's fine. But can it be traded? Because Haiti right now does not have a financial market when it comes to traded index or securities or stocks or whatever you want to call it, right? They don't have that infrastructure. So right now, it would be wise to start building the stock market for Haiti. So the people to start quoting. It's crazy. So the case may be is we're, I'm not here trying to protect, but we will always ask permission. We will always try to, and if we're not welcome, that doesn't stop people from trading the coin and still doing transactions on a mobile phone. How many places we know they say that Bitcoin is illegal? Did that stop people from still doing transactions? No. It's just saying they will not incorporate in their financial system. Okay, if I'm not going to incorporate in your financial system, okay, that's fine. Unless you're going to remove the whole app stores and everything else and mobile phones from people's phones, and then that's a different story. Or you're going to turn off, we already have a weak infrastructure when it comes to, online communication. So we're just going to shoot ourselves in the foot? Come on. We work together and we build knowledge, because I have a crew of developers. Myself, I'm a developer, front-end developer. I design most of my apps. I got my back end. I know a little bit. So we're working on building a exchange and stuff like that. Who knows? It's not guaranteed. We don't put anything steps in a white paper, because things change so fast. Bitcoin is traded under $20,000 right now. Who would ever thought at this time right now we'll be trading this low? Right now, all companies have to readjust right now. They're laying people off. They're liquidating their savings, everything. So we're unable to predict the financial landscape, but we're hoping that if we're going to work with Haiti, we're going to ask permission first and to see if it's feasible. And we're not saying choose us against others. We want to work alongside multiple other cryptocurrency that may be helping the development of Haiti, because ourselves, Haitian Dollar, cannot do it alone. It's a core group. It's a core of us that needs to come together, whether it's Haiti Pay, Emitech, the Digital Good, the Haitian government, the Bank of Republic, everybody coming together on the table with different knowledge and background to come together to make things work, the better for the Haitian people in general. That's just my take and my way of looking at it.
Okay. Another scenario for you here, slightly varying off from the original one. Let's say the government goes forward with another company, or say another tech developer, to develop some CBDC that they intend to use and they want to flesh out. And as they deploy it, the community starts to slowly accept it, or it's deployed basically. So they have, the government being there would have the quickest access to the largest amount of people. And then as people slowly adopt that currency, as you said, the people themselves would decide what the value of the Haitian dollar is. As it is now, it's 5 good, but you say it could be more, it could be less. What happens to the investors of the IEO if something like that were to happen? Because in that case, you have the Haitian people already using some digital currency that's a representation of the one that they already have. They already have the correlation. And now Haitian Dollar, or this project, is a secondary one that doesn't have the government approval. What would be the course of action there?
Well, the course of action still remains the same, that we're for a group of people also that strongly believe that the government is not in the best interest of their people. And if you look across the globe, Haiti demonstrate that to the utmost as we speak now. Like they running amok over there right now. So again, Haiti people, they think a little different. You know, when you're talking about, okay, you're got a digital good out of nowhere, the government in the minds of the Haitian people never ever cared, never did anything in the best interest for them, and all of a sudden here you are helping, trying to free. Okay, great. Already cash accessibility to the Haitian good right now on the grounds is very limited. Okay, so now we create the digital good to make it more easy accessible, and now everybody got a hold of it. Great. But you got to remember, it's no different from how we think about it. Do we have access to US dollar? Yes, I do. I can go into the bank right now and withdraw some money. But I also have some Bitcoin. Guess what? I got some other cryptos too. So at the end of the day, you could have your digital good backed by the government, but you're going to always have some underground people that's still going to be around, which is the informal group that we're talking about here, that does not represent the ledger of the Haitian people. They're removed from the ledger. They're unbanked. They're not taxed. You know, they're cash people. And those are the people that we represent. They're renegades, you know, so to speak, because they believe the government does not afford them opportunity. They just had the sweatshops. 80 apparels, the ladies in the manufacturing, they just had to fight for their minimum wage. They out in the street running, burning places down. So you tell me, the people would decide. They always decide. They always will be. So it's not, I can't predict nothing. Again, if the people decide it's not a go, then it's not a go. But I know for a fact that people bet Bitcoin will go to zero right now as we speak. They're betting that bad boy will go to zero and it will be obsolete and no more Bitcoin. But guess what? The sad story is that whether it goes to zero in your mind, there's going to be a group of us still holding on to Bitcoin. And we'll still trade. Just because you don't see a dollar sign behind it doesn't mean it doesn't have value in your eyes. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, let's say if I was in another part of the globe, that the financial system wasn't structured as the United States government. Am I really concerned that the U.S., the currency of my nation somehow represent? I don't think the philosophy would be quite different. I don't think they really correlate their currency with the U.S. government, so to speak. Like, this is back that. No, they're looking at this coin is value across the globe that somebody's willing to pay for.
Well, the U.S. dollar is a bit different in that case because it is the global reserve currency. So even if the country isn't directly concerned with the value of the US dollar, they have to at least be relatively cognizant of it for any trade that they want to do going forward to the countries that do peg to the US dollar. So it's a bit different there. So more countries would have to be concerned with it. But I do understand what you're saying. And Bitcoin is kind of different too, because of how it's mined. No one actually is running it individually per se. It wasn't distributed. It wasn't distributed per se. It was mined from nothing, and it's still being mined to this day. It'll continue to be mined beyond our lifetimes. So this in itself is a bit different. There's already a fixed amount. What's the roadmap for deploying it? How do they go out? So let's say an investor were to come in and they want to participate in the IEO. What are they investing into? The security, as you said, it's a security.
Yes,
they're investing into this security. Yeah. What they then receive the Haitian dollars?
Yes, yes. As a tokenization of the company, which is a representation of the company, Haitian Dollar Inc., which is a security. There's no difference in, buying Apple shares, you're buying any, Coinbase shares. It's no difference. You're purchasing the security itself. It's tokenized. It's a tokenized representation. Now, the services and products is where when we're talking about deploying. Now, there's, it's Apple got the Apple computer, but also got a stock trading on NASDAQ. You could buy it. You know what I mean? It's just like the same concept. It's just that it's just a new concept that people are trying to wrap their head. But it's just simple. It's just that the traditional market now digital market. So Haitian Dollar Inc., which is a registered company, exempt from filing registration because we don't have the money. We haven't proven ourselves. We're just using the Job Act that is afforded to small businesses, and we form our company. Okay. The Haitian dollar is a concept that's already been established. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not creating something brand new. This stuff been in the history embedded in the back of our necks since the 1800s. There's extensive research. I mean, extensive research. Just do a quick Google Haitian. Extensive research about the history of Haitian dollar and how it relates to five goods. So for me, it's no brainer. Nothing can change that ideal. Not me, not you, nobody. I mean, my mama, could tell me history about Haitian dollar. She tell me she still think it's crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Haitian dollar's not real. Haitian dollar's not real. But they talk about Haitian dollar. So the thing is that of course you got to build apps. You got to be like every digital company or every tech company. The first concept is building an app. You know what I mean? That's 101. You have a wallet app, right? You have a wallet app provides service. So as we got some prototypes on. We just kind of had some sneak prototypes where it showed. We're building an app where we could do transaction lighting up. Just the same. Financial apps. It's no big. It's nothing. It's no grandiose, bro. It's nothing like, it's not. It's a simple app, just like Cash App or any app, Coinbase app, any app, but it's just designed in a way where it is for the people, okay? That you understand this noble cause. Because at the end of the day, it's the individual ideology that forms the company. It's the mission and the vision that I have that really pushed the company forward to the 21st century or to the next frontier, because what I envision, like I already have communication with folks already in Haiti. Let's say, for example, somebody is, has a school, a trade school. They have some young ladies that's doing hair, they're doing some nails, and they're cooking and so forth and so on. They may look towards the diaspora, myself, as a savior. I'm not calling myself a savior, but I'm just saying as a person who could, with the knowledge that I have here in the United States, that I could help advance their ideas too. So that's where the crowdfunding piece comes in place. So it's a mission driven thing. So it's no, it's not this. It's not just here's the roadmap of this tech company. Hey, well, let's show me what you got. It's about going out here, man, and trying to do good, man. Travel to Haiti, figure out what some people doing on the ground, connecting with the right people, help people who are trying to get themselves up and trying to work with them. We're building services, and hopefully, the services that we use could, it could generate revenue. And based on the revenue, we could attract investors if that's what you're asking. Because the revenues just want to see the bottom line, how much extra return I could get. So right now we can't entertain that because right now we're a private company and we're not trying to be brought out by any public investors. And then before you know it, the mission and the agenda of the company would quickly transform. And that's not the course we want to take. Right now we want to remain private, okay, and just kind of work ourselves through the market and navigate through the murky waters, because right now it's really difficult to even imagine what's going to happen in the next month, to even trying to figure out what's going to happen in the next 2 years. We take every day, day by day, and we just continue to build. That's all we could do.
Okay. So Would it be fair to say then that the Haitian dollar is, in essence, a tokenized stock in the Haitian dollar company?
Yes, sir.
And so it's classified as a security, so it's easy to see it as a stock. But wouldn't that present sort of a conflict of interest if it's seen as a stock that's owned by a private few? Even if most of it is dispersed, there's still a decent amount of it that's owned by a private few, as well as a currency that people are supposed to that they need some sort of, well, not necessarily stability, but they need that security, and that there's nothing externally that could influence it, because having something fluctuated, it just isn't feasible to use that as a day-to-day currency, especially in developing areas like countries in the Caribbean, like Haiti, which is why we tend to be slower in our approach to these things, because it's easy to jump ahead. But to reel that back in, wouldn't there be a conflict of interest if this is a stock as well as a currency?
Well, not necessarily, because remember, we're in a new frontier. We still haven't made no definition. We haven't even defined what's the real security yet, to tell the truth. There's no real laws. There's no real regulation. There's guidance.
Security definitely, like, security is definitive. Like the fight a lot of crypto companies have is not being identified as a security, because there's definitively a definition by law of what a security is. So that part is locked in. The digital side is what's really the mystery.
So I understand what you're saying, but we still argue. If you look at Twitter, you see how people still arguing about what is a security, what's a utility token. The SEC still, even though we all know that's why we went that route. The guidance is that if I hate to say it, they say most of all the coins are security, but people still saying no. So clearly there's no real definition, because people are still confused that they're saying Ethereum is not a security. Then if Ethereum is a security, Bitcoin must be a security. No, Bitcoin is not security, because it's ICO and it distributed. It wasn't no period. It was pre-mine, and it wasn't pre-mine really. It was by energy, so you have a lot. So if you had a definition, then we wouldn't have that tug of war going on. But the situation here is that it's really no conflict of interest. It's the fact that if you're going to play the rules, you got to play the rules. Let's be frank here. Mm-hmm. There's the Wild Wild West, and then there's the rules, right? You can continue to play the Wild West and trying to play the guessing game, and then find yourself not being strong and mature, not maturing over the time, and find yourself being targeted in the next 3 to 5 years. And you cannot be traded on exchanges because you're not regulated in some sort of aspect. No matter how you look at it, it's going to happen. So the game we're playing is to be regulated early, okay? And if you're going to file yourself an exemption, by definition of the Security Exchange Commission, you're security. You're filing an exemption. Whether you consider yourself a utility, once you file an exemption, which you must file if you're going to run an ICO in the United States, or if you're a United States company. And if you don't do it because you feel like you're not a security, then you're in a jeopardy of violating securities laws. So come on, do I want to be in jeopardy of violating security laws and think about it later? And this is what's going on Ripple. Or should I go ahead and comply first, and they could have one hands-off approach and watch me from the back end, and then consider later that you're really not a security, you're really a utility. But thank you for registering as, following the compliance. But because I'm a company and I file exemption, it's automatically other investors want to invest because you have filed some sort of exemption. That's just the way the United States government works, right? People, they sit by the computer, and every company who files, they jump on it, because if or not every company files, they jump on it, but they monitor, companies that come in and filing their reports and exemptions, and they and that's how they play their stocks, So in essence, if you're going to play that rule, yeah, and under the state law, you are a security, your company is a private company, which is exempt from registration. Now, where we come in the digital space is saying that we are a currency, whether we're a currency to interact in an app or exchange as a medium exchange from market to market, merchant to merchant, point of sales, what have you, it's really no correlation or no conflict of interest there. It's just playing the rules by what it rules. Now, if you're looking at what people are saying, like how he's compliant with the securities exchange and he's claiming himself to be decentralized, then I think we're still in that fallacy again, that we're failing to realize that these things will happen. You have to be regulated if you're going to play the game. You're not going to run unregulated. So whether you call yourself a security or not a security or a private company, that's the eye of the beholder. But in the eyes of security exchange, when they sit on the board and they're looking at these companies coming through, you're automatically a security.
Okay. So coming off of that one now, let's talk about any collaborative work or collaborative efforts you have. So you had a post in your news section of the website, because you do keep abreast of certain news relevant to Haiti and its digital evolution. Companies like Amtech and Haiti Pay, who are just in DC with their proof of concept to the whole CBDC and having a coin that presents stability, a digital coin that presents that stability for the people of Haiti. Have you reached out to and or started collaborating with any of these other companies, any other groups or organizations?
Well, I follow them on Twitter, Facebook. I keep up with what's going on. I look at their webinars, their podcasts. Actually, I just was looking at one 80 pages had. I try to keep abreast of what they're doing and trying to see, how they're keeping up, with the cutting edge of the technology. No, I haven't reached out. Like I said, I just follow them. I recently I was at Discord, the blockchain Haiti, so I'm in there. I keep an eye, they know, some of them know what's going on. I just don't want to think I'm in competition, because some folks could feel like, we're competing. No, we're not competing. Or some folks may think like we're trying to replace. Like I said, if they could create that true stability coin for Haitian people to transact in the market, then that's their niche and that's the market that they choose to be. Like I already demonstrated and said repeatedly in the group that our primary target for the informer could just going to be a group of people that just not going to transact with a digital good. Just be honest. They're just not, because as we see, they ran into the police, Haiti right now. They they holding. So come on. So it's not, it's an issue right there. So we're for a group of people that believes that the government, no matter how they play and twist it, it's just not going to be feasible for them because they feel like it's not in their best interest. But as to reaching out to them, I don't think I'm ready to reach out because I have to, really prove myself first before I start reaching out to some of the key people that I believe that play an intricate role when it comes to developing the digital good, because to me, that's a little different project and a little bit bigger than what we're trying to do when it comes to trying to cover the whole and trying to implement something in the whole financial, government. That's not the game we play. We would love to tag along, but we're really not in interest of trying to incorporate Haitian dollar into the government. Now, like I said, we want to be quoted next to them. So if we own a financial market, like I said, Haiti don't even have a financial market. But if we had a financial, we still, Haitian dollar is quoted in the market. Don't get it twisted. You find a Haitian dollar with the money sign. There's quote. But what I'm saying, legally, digital system where across the board, when you go into shops and market, not only you see the ATG or the G symbol, but you will also see HTD or even the H and the money sign with the prices quoted for the market to participate and to view. That's the objective, because we want to integrate. We want to participate in the financial market. Now, do we want to, be the one to implement it and be the one to deploy, the Haitian dollar good? And Now, if the government decide they want to work with us in some sort of capacity, I will still to this day tell them that MTech and Haiti Pay probably in the best position because of their market share, because of the history they put in. They probably be in the best position to tackle that in. We're not in a position to tackle that in. We're in a position for the commune, for the folks that's in the lower sector who really, are forgotten, and that's who we're for.
Okay. So what about let's rule out companies and already established firms and groups. What about non-profit crypto and blockchain focused organizations? So there's the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance, NGO. It's been working for years, slowly establishing education and policy throughout the entire Caribbean region. Have you considered reaching out or partnering with people like them to potentially grow your project? Because I think if the end goal is establishing something for the people of the country to use through this technology that's been presented through blockchain and cryptocurrencies, then those kind of collaborations would help dramatically in terms of community adoption. So have you considered those kinds of collaborations or reaching out?
Yeah, I've been reaching out. Actually, in the phase of I've been reaching out to sending emails, pitch decks, so forth, so on. Of course, people probably watching in the back end. Who knows? I don't know. But I haven't got any response from anybody. But I'm sending emails out, pitch decks out to nonprofit organizations that primarily deal with distribution of food, that have vessels that ships apparel and assets to Haiti. Missionary schools that's on the ground that have church and stuff like that. I'm reaching out to these folks, nonprofit organizations, because they could participate in the IEO because they're nonprofit organizations and they have foot grounds international. So those folks I could solicit. Unlike United States companies or United States individuals, I can't not solicit because at this phase I'm not allowed to, because I'm not supposed to promote or should I say target people in the United States about the Haitian dollar at this phase, all right? Because it's supposed to technically only be for our shore. So if the individual I'm soliciting, because these are cold emails, because they don't know anything about Haitian dollar, so that's why I use the word soliciting and cold email. So I sent emails to them because I know that's the work they do. I even send emails to the World Bank. The World Bank, places like that, just to show them what I'm doing. The Embassy of Haiti, I sent some stuff down to Washington, D.C., something. Not that I want to, just to let them know what I'm doing, and if there's some interest to reach out. Yes, you're right. In order for me to do the good that I'm talking about, that I'm so claiming about, I have to collaborate with folks who are doing the work, who actually who has the ground share and the distribution capacity to get these things out. I don't have a boat, I don't have a plane, I don't have a factory where I can house goods. No, but yes, I would love to collaborate with some, and I've been targeting some organization that I know that directly deal with transport, import, and export, which some of the things we are interested in, and sending tow trucks and Mack trucks to Haiti to help clean up some debris. Some of the things that we look at, so we're just, again, it's a grassroots level starts now, so we're reaching out, and hopefully, once we could, next 6 months, 7 months, we can probably get some emails, folks asking us, they're interested to see what we're talking about.
Okay. And what do you see as the short-term future? So the IEO has been active for a little while now. It's not been active too long. I forget the exact date that it started. Based on the progress that you've seen so far, or what you expect, or what you're speculating to be the performance based off that, with projection or trajectory you see, what do you see in the short term, in the near future, for Haitian Dollar Inc. as opposed to the security?
Well, right now,
or both, actually, both.
Because of right now unfortunately we're in a downturn market right now, and a lot of things are shaking up. People are getting liquidated. As we know, most of the companies that came out in the past, they came out of times like these. So right now, the concentration is building a product. Where the revenue is coming from. This is where the think tanks we come and the masterminds come and figure out how we could build products to be able to attract, some interest. The security itself is pretty much aligned with the token price or the market value of the coin and the interest of the people. Investors are more interested of, how many people are interested in a particular product and the volume it brings. And they'll be on the side to watch, just like any other company. They're on the side, they're participating. Because nobody knows anything about which one is going to do what and which is going to win at the end. I don't know, I can't predict. My biggest motto and my mantra, the market will decide. I let the market decide because, again, we're not stable coin. We're a free float. Okay. Meaning that we allow the coin to go up and down. When I mean we allow, meaning that it's free. Now, for the securities, there may be mechanism in place, so to speak. Let's say if a market downturn like this, that may be detrimental to the investors' bottom line, then there's some mechanism that they get in place. It's nothing like any stock, like any margin calls halt, so to speak, where you put stop and next, exchange to put a stop on trading until market may, who knows? Although I may not want to do that, but if it's about protecting investors' money, similar to what, I don't want to get into that, but we must, take note that, based on this experience, that they have to have some sort of mechanism in case the worst comes our way. So I can't be naive and say, okay, success is 100%. Because right now, folks are liquidated. We have no investors. We haven't got any supporters yet, and it's kind of natural. We kind of sort of expect this because, again, no revenue, brand new. We have no real following. Okay, we haven't been out too long, and it's quiet. Can we trust this company to say what they're going to do and hold up to it? So there's a lot of speculation, which is understandable when you have thousands of other projects out there claiming next pump and the next cash grab. We're not in the interest of that, man. We're just trying to do the best we could do, build, stay focused. We'll still be here when it's a penny or a fraction of a penny. And we'll still be here when it's whatever price to the roof. So we're just and tell the truth, just because we file an exemption, we never probably issue shares. But because it's not up to us, it's up to the government. One day the government may say everybody or anybody who holds the asset of Haitian dollar is naturally a shareholder. That's not my rule, that's the government rule. Then that's a different story. But as to file a registration A, to do a mini IPO like Coinbase, and no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're going to remain private because we're not trying to have VCs own our company and change the mission and the vision of the company. But we're hoping though one day that those who own Haitian dollars, that there's some sort of grandfathered in that could come in, so to speak, whereas you could be protected. So they could say, account A, you have X amount of Haitian dollars. You're a legal owner of Haitian dollar, a piece of shares, or what case it be, whatever, how they draft that bill. And you'll have the same fortunate opportunity and protection, just like Apple and stock that's traded on the major stock exchanges. And that's the ultimate goal. Do I know when? I don't know when, but I know it's going to happen. But I don't know when.
Okay, so I guess starting from absolute zero, you say that the funds themselves can't really come in and tell you you've proven yourself. You're just getting started, and you don't expect any real growth until the funds come in. Correct?
Well, everything now up to the fund, everything been out of pocket expense. Okay, we've been paying everything. So what I say is that we could have went numerous routes. So we've been advised to go numerous routes. But what we see when we start to evaluate, we realize that no matter how you go, we wouldn't get the traction that we expect because we're so early in the game. And we have no really true traction. We have no real revenue. We have no history of any real production. And we produce nothing. So it was more feasible to see if we could start an IEO and see if we could get Haitian dollar in the hands of the people. That was the ultimate goal. Not, so to speak, to raise an exorbitant amount of money to go build this super app, right? But to distribute the coin into the hands of the people, right? Because right now it's going for a penny. So we're hoping that folks will see the opportunity and say, well, at a discount, let's go ahead and grab some, right? And in return, we would set out the agenda, and whether we're raising money or not, we're still going to continue to, thank God that I'm going to develop myself. So I have a lot of major control over what and how the things are developed. But I have a team of core group that I deal with in Haiti. They're well versed with the building financial apps. Some of them already worked on Haiti Pay, some things of Haiti Pay. But the concept here is to pretty much deploy the coin out, get some traction, build some history, build the app, and then because you have the coin on exchange and you got it in the hands of the folks, then they could test it with the coins through the app, and then they could migrate everything through the app. And if they like the app, and then hopefully we introduce new products and services to the app, like exchange or whatever the case may be, and maybe we start another series around, and hopefully the grassroots work that we started from ground zero up to that point will bring a new set of eyes, a new set of investors in and say, okay, these guys, I watched them back in 2022. I didn't invest because I thought there was a sham. I thought these guys are not serious. And these guys now in the last 3 years, and they work, and now I think it's time for us to come back and invest. I do that myself.
Okay. So there's it's 50 billion in total, correct?
Yes.
So have they all been pre-mined already, or are they distributed? So all of them already exist.
They're yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all of them would be available through that IEO.
No, not all of it will be IEO, because we also lock in some for economic disaster and stimulus. So we also have a portion of the country where because we already know Haiti is positioned the way it's positioned for disasters and economic hardship. So this disaster recovery fund is sort of like a stimulus package where, let's say a situation happened like when we had several years ago with the earthquake and the most recent floods, et cetera, and reporting food shortages. Case like this where we have a fund sit here, we could communicate directly to some of the grassroots organization that's actually there on the grounds that we could tomorrow fly and we could see them there with the trucks and everything distributing the foods. And those are the disaster relief that we want to be able to reserve to distribute when these things happen.
Okay. So could you give us a breakdown of how it's split up as is? So as it currently stands, how much of it or what percentage of it is available through the IEO, and what percentages have already been allocated for these different areas like you referenced just now?
Well, right now, because it's the first, what we call the first round IEO, it's 25%, right? 25% of what we have out of the 50. So let's say 250 million.
12,
so let's say
12.5 billion.
Well, it's a breakdown of how we did it. We got the IEO, then we have crowdfunding. Well, we do the private, we have IEO private, and then we have crowdfunding. So it's like 3 different rounds. So right now we're doing the IEO. And so we break down, we take 250 million out of the first round and put it out for sale. Because we got other rounds in the near future. We don't know when, let's say 2 years from now or a year from now, we may have a private sale, depending on the traction. These are for investors for regulation D. So right now for the IEO is 250 million. And then the second round, which is the regulation D, will have another 250 million. Okay. And then for the crowdfunding, there'll be X amount of $1 million. I mean, when I say million, X amount of millions of HD that will also be allocated for that round. And then we'll move forward from there. So out of the 50 billion, we break that down we divide it by 3, so to speak, with 3 rounds.
Okay. And do you already know the numbers that'll be? There's 250 million for the first. Do you know the numbers that'll be used for the other rounds? Will it be equal? Will it be more or less?
It could be equal, because right now, let's say if we don't sell all the coins, we have to either one, roll it over to the next round, because it's all dependent on how much we sell. It's just because we have it available doesn't mean that everything is going to be sold out, right? So if we are unable to sell everything, then we have to roll the coins over. Of course, we'll have some airdrops and some sort of what we call poor campaign, where we do some sort of airdrop or tournament to help accounts who have below X amount of money, and we issue some coins to them as a poor campaign. So there's different methods of how we're doing it, but right now we have 0 traction. So we could say we have 25% out, 250 million that's out. It's still sitting there. So we might be able to roll it over again, or we may have to do a poor campaign on the exchange itself, where we run tournaments and make sure we could get it in the hands of the people. And ultimate goal is trying to get the hands of the people.
Okay. So say you were to hit the goal for this first round with the initial launch of the IEO, you hit all 250 million of them sell out at a penny a piece. That brings it to $2.5 million US. What would be, if you were to completely hit that goal, what would be what are the first steps for the allocation of those funds? What are going to be the initial primary concerns going forward with any of the funds that are raised?
Well, the first thing I would do is try to deploy the app as soon as possible, get the full app, start working on an exchange, and then communicate with some Haiti organizations and figure out some distribution warehouses where we could house certain, resources and goods. So it's basically, we'll be working with nonprofit organizations because they're the best ones to work with when it comes to 503c status and dealing with, that amount of money. It is wise to, work with nonprofit organizations for tax purposes and so forth and so on. So immediately, the first step would be to work on deploying the app with full development and resources with Lightning Network, etc. And then second of all, some will go into reserve, of course, but mostly it's going into figuring out how we could, provide goods and services in Haiti with a distribution of a warehouse. And there's nonprofit organizations that I solicited that have vessels. They have vessels sitting in the port of Miami, and they import export goods from clothing, from vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the goals there is to send out Mack trucks. A Mack truck might cost you $50,000. A tow truck might cost you roughly $20,000. Get several of those tow trucks and put some people to work. There's a lot of debris after the earthquake. There's big rocks still sitting around. There's vehicles are still sitting on the side of the road, sit on top of each other, although they have a big landfill for recycling. Here in America, I used to do recycle myself, you could, recycle this stuff and make a few dollars. So, you hire some folks to rent the tow trucks out there to send out, things. So some of the things we're doing, just to it's about help. So we'll be, try to deploy most of that money to be working the Haiti people. So working the app, and most of the money we try to work out and trying to deploy some stuff in Haiti for sure.
Okay. So the white paper is available on the website. Do you have anything along the lines of a business plan per se that can show to people who might be interested but are still a bit skeptical what the funds would be going towards, so even for newer companies or newer developers, newer projects coming in this space, in the white paper itself, they not just lay out the technology and the ideals, but they if they're raising money, they normally have all of the allocations already spread out. But aside from that, they have the initial plans going forward for exactly what each one of those would do. So do you have something along the lines of a business plan available?
Yeah, and the thing is too, I had read an article too that some of the recommendations to new companies coming in now, they're saying that the white paper is almost becoming obsolete. Mm-hmm. You have to start to work on the offering memorandum. That's the new thing right now. The PPM, private placement memorandum, where it gives the identity of everybody, who's the people, their resume, the company information, when it was started, what is your plan, what is your projection, what is the legal terms, what is the legality, what is your tax purposes. So if you go on the website, right underneath where it says white paper, there's a almost 77-page paper there where everything that is required for me to file a Regulation D was set. So, and in order for me to file a Regulation D in private placement, I must have a lawyer to go through over that piece of paper, the 77-page paper. So that's the new white paper. Back when I was coming up, white paper, any white paper was more than 2-page paper, nobody read it. Everybody wanted to read a 1-page white paper. So you couldn't even put a projection on the red paper. In 2017, when I was coming up, you had,
most of the projects that had those shorter white paper, I don't think it's a good comparison for you there, because a lot of those that had the shorter ones tended to be scams or just rug pulls and get rich quick schemes. The developer based on Bitcoin itself has 9 pages and technically 8 pages. The 9th page is just references, and Ethereum, some of the other ones, they have not long, but definitely more than 1 to 2 pages that flesh out everything. So a lot of those ICO white papers, they in most cases with the SEC coming through wiping them out because they didn't have any real depth. They didn't have these ideas, and they didn't have an offering memorandum, which you do have here. I'm looking at it now, to be fair. But I'm just saying that wouldn't be the best. That wouldn't be the best example to liken your project to. But in the offering memorandum, then does that, because it's a lot, I can't go through all of it before we finish this interview. Does that say what the allotments would go to, what the minimum startup requirement would be, what the initial product cost and all of that would be? Is that in there?
Well, for a new company with no product, you with no real product, you can't really put all of that projection, but you do have a clause there that tells you, that things change, but it tells you the future projections, and they also tell you that these future projections may also change. And that's the whole purpose of offering memorandum. It's telling you what we set out to do. It gives you the projections. It gives you some of the things we said we're going to do. It tells you the allocations. Yes, but again, it's still not. It's not all the meat that you want to give you a real definite. If you're looking for a solid answer of like 5 years, 2 years from now, what are you going to do? 3 years from now, what are you going? It's not a breakdown.
Oh no, just like the first steps with the funds.
Yes. So if you go down to table of contents, yeah. I don't have the offer memorandum in front of me, but
I'm going through it. I see jurisdictional notices. Okay, summary of the offering. Is that where I need to go?
Yes.
Okay, that's page 42.
No, it's just a summary, so it's not, it's, so if the offering is there to let you know the rules and the regulation of what the security is about and what are you getting yourself into and what are the projections. And if it's anybody read what is a PPN, a private placement memorandum, is basically just a mini business plan into the bigger projection of following the Regulation A, which is more extensive. It's more extensive. Which really you have to have an accountant. You have to have certain things that follow rules. So we follow the job acts, and that's what we're following right now. It's a first step approach into going into the foray of a company in the securities market, where we call first step trial run, and what they look at to see what are you going to do with this, and this is what it's about.
Okay, all right. Well, do you have any last words regarding your project, yourself, anything people need to know, how to contact you?
Well, if you go to HaitianDollar.com, you'll see all the links at the bottom for the social networks, Telegram. I'm mostly engaged in Telegram. Facebook is where mostly the Haitian and folks in Haiti I communicate with through Messenger. So Telegram and Twitter is primarily the best place to contact me. If anybody want to have questions or answer, they want to send me an email, they can send me to admin at HaitianDollar.com, and I could respond to them and answer any relevant question they have. I know folks might want to see my face, so I go ahead and show my face at the end, so folks will get to see how I look, because I know a lot of people want to see how folks look. So I just put that just to advertise, just for advertising purposes. So it wasn't like I was hiding myself or trying to be this incognito person, but this is just for advertising purposes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, it's been an insightful conversation. Thank you again for coming through, sitting down, going through some of these questions with me, fleshing out more of how the company and the project will work, what you're looking at going forward. Thanks again for sitting down. Hopefully we could keep in touch. You could keep me updated with any progress, any more updates, how the IEO is going, and how Haitian Dollar will be moving forward.
Well, I appreciate Mr. Forbes. I appreciate you giving the opportunity to actually lay down my foundation of Haitian Dollar to your core group, or to the world in this case, because we are digital. I appreciate the time, man. I just want to let people know that, the first thing first, you don't really invest in the product. You actually invest in the person. You invest in the mission of the individual. Because you can invest in the product, but if the mission of the individual and they're out of whack, the product will fail. So what you're looking for is looking for somebody who has leadership of skill that you see, that you look for in yourself, or anybody that you're looking to follow. Or in this case, I'm also a servant. I know how to serve. Before I lead, I'm humble. I'm coachable. So it's about the mission. Whether you invest $1 or you don't invest in all, I'm still going to move further in the goal and the mission. But I can't do it by myself, so I need all the support. And again, it's not for just Haitian people; it's for everybody. But think about it: the Haitian dollar is at a penny right now, so you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I tell you right now, it's affordable. With Bitcoin going down at this price, and we don't know how far it's going, you need something to hedge against. This is not a promotion to buy. It's just explaining the concept and the economy that we're going through right now. And I'm just throwing out hints that, in order for you to protect your assets, you're trying to figure out how to diversify and allocate, your funds. And I believe that, with Haitian dollar at this point, and with the downturn of the economy, it's almost kind of like a no-brainer, really, to figure out, what you could do. So, but again, thank you again for the platform and opportunity.
All right. And folks, we'll wrap up the interview right there. Thanks to the guests. Thank you, the audience, for coming through with another episode of Crypto in the Caribbean. If you haven't already, make sure hit the like, hit the subscribe, and we see y'all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you again for coming through, kicking it with me for another episode of Crypto in the Caribbean. We just had a very great interview with Honson Luma, founder of the Haitian Dollar. So my goal here really was just to sit down with Mr. Luma and give him an opportunity to say his piece and really flesh out and address some of the concerns and questions that I had from the previous video when I broke down the white paper. Throughout the interview though, as you probably could tell, the answers that I got just weren't really enough to convince me of this project on the whole. To me, it still seems to be mired purely in speculation, and it only seems to be backed by these grandiose ideas and promises that realistically have no planned backing. The funds are being raised, but there's no plan for how any of it is actually to be spent. There are ideas on how it should be spent, but there's no budget, there's no research into the budget, there's no ideas of what the cost involved would be. It just wasn't enough for me. But hey, maybe it's just me. What do you think? If you haven't already, on your way out, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss any of those notifications. Let me know down in the comments what you felt about the interview, what you felt about some of his stances, some of his opinions, and his general mindset and approach with the Haitian dollar and its potential application in Haiti. If I'm not fast enough, or if I don't really respond in the comments and you want to get at me directly, you already know the best way to do it. My Linktree, which is linked down below, has access to all of my content, all of my written stuff, my previous work, all of my socials. Everything you need to find about me, you could find right inside there. All that aside though, thanks again for sitting with me through this super long interview, I'll be honest. Till next time, we can link.